All right. So, first deck we're going to try today is this Izzet Control list that was played in the Challenger Gauntlet this past weekend by a player by the name of Noriyuki Mori. Hey, Evil Empire, good to see you. This deck is basically designed to prey on not only Winota, but also the decks that prey on Winota. Traditionally, people played Dimir Rogues to take on Winota, but this is pretty good against both of them. It has a bunch of small removal spells that are pretty flexible. You can kill your Soaring Thought Thieves, you can wipe the board, wipe Winota's board and make it so Winota doesn't do anything, you can counter Winota, you can Essence Scatter her. You have Midnight Clock to deal with Rogues, you have Mystical Dispute to deal with Rogues and Sultai, you have one of Shark Typhoon to eventually win the game, and you have a few Cure Best to Sea Gods for some reason that I don't fully understand. So, I think this is pretty cool. I have no idea how good it is. I know that Noriyuki played it to a top 4 finish in the tournament, so it wasn't that bad. Let's see how it goes. Man, you guys all joined the stream super quick. Nice to see you all. That was really fast. That came out of a holster. How are you all doing? We're up against Hacumen. You were ready. You were just born ready, okay. So Expressive Iteration's kind of an all-star in the deck. I feel like almost any hand with it you can keep. We're up against Luris, so Midnight Clock is probably pretty good. We're almost certainly against Rogues. Just want to make sure this resolves at basically all costs. Yeah, this is a keep. Okay, I told you it was good. Told you the deck was good against Rogues. Okay. So how do we want to sideboard here? Fire Prophecy seems pretty good. We want 3 damage removal spells to deal with things like Soaring Thought Thief. We want our Phoenix of Ash, in case that gets milled. Disdainful Stroke seems pretty poor. It's, like, okay against, like, Into the Story, but I think I'd rather have, like, Mystical Disputes. Shark Typhoon seems reasonable. Plays through their counters. Test of Talents? Not sure. What don't we like? Kioribus the Sea God seems truly terrible. How's Cinderclasm? How do we feel about Cinderclasm? Pretty medium, right? It doesn't kill the Rune Crab. All it really kills is, like, the Wind Robber and Thieves Guild Enforcer. And the Wind Robber they can just sack in response. I think this is probably a cut. Yeah, welcome back home, okay? It's good to have you back. Burning Hand seems pretty bad as well, for the same reason that Cinderclasm was bad. Like, 2 damage removal wasn't great. I think I'm interested in the Test of Talents. Mazemind Tome is good. And the one saw it coming? I think this seems reasonable. Yeah, let's go with this. So 1-0 so far without playing a card. This one we have to throw away. Okay, this is fine. So is there any reason to keep Field of Ruin? They are playing that manland, right? The black manland. So maybe we do want to keep it for later. 5 lands is a lot, too. Let's put back... We want double blue for Saw coming. Let's put back a mountain. So 5 Prophecy is a pretty good one to have on the draw. Provides a reasonable answer for their Thought Thief. Eye of the Mike Wazowski Tyrant. I feel like that's supposed to mean something to me, and it just doesn't. We'll hide that we have red. They still don't know what we're playing. Essence Scatter's not bad. I probably should have led with the Haw, shouldn't I? But I think I need to play red here to have the removal available. Hopefully that doesn't bite me too badly. Thieves Guild Enforcer. How do we feel about this? A movie's called Monsters, Inc. I've seen Monsters, Inc. a long time ago. I think I am interested in casting this now. Because there is some chance... Their hand seems awkward. There's some chance this is their only mill outlet. And we also have another removal spell to deal with this guy. We can cast this... So this is going to be come in tapped, so we can cast this Fire Prophecy and play around like Mystical Dispute. Do you think they kept in Mystical Dispute? Like, not knowing what we're playing against? The cards in the bin, 7. So what I want to do is I want to play the Iteration here. We do have a few Phoenix of Ashes that we would like to get milled. I'm not sure, Dead Zone, that Izzet Control is a thing. Only one player played it, but they played it to a good finish, and it has, I think, a decent matchup with Rogues and Winota, which is probably why they played it. I want this to resolve really, really badly. I'm gonna cast this now. And I'm gonna put back the Field of Ruin. Am I? Yeah. I want my colors. And let's just get our haul out of the way. Ah. Okay. So they could have, like, Cling to Dust if they kill the Phoenix and then cast Cling Brisad. But I guess I'd rather... Like, they almost certainly have a counterspell here. And if they do, I'd rather them counter the Phoenix in the Iteration. So that's what we're gonna do. Yeah, sure, that's fine. Now, this does leave open Cling to Dust for the opponent, which they don't have, and it also didn't matter because we milled the second Phoenix. So that's pretty good. Raw dogging into the story, main phase. I cast Phoenix of Ash. Right? Okay. Yeah, sure. Great. Hey, MTG Nerd Girl. Good to see you. How did today go for you? I know you had a busy one lined up. You survived? Your good luck. You came in just as we beat Rogues. Bored them to death. 1-0. I'm not sure I'll count that. We'll see how we feel. Okay. I'm sure you've got a lot left to do. Against Koba. Is this the same guy we just played against? No, we were up against Hacumen before. This hand seems reasonable. Got the Cryptic Command Sleeves, probably a control player. Essence Scatter might be dead. But, again, we're playing this deck to play Expressive Iteration, so if we draw that, we're going to keep it. Do we want to play the Hazard on one? If it's like Winota or something, we'd much rather have this in hand as a removal spell. Let's just get the haul down. We do have untapped right if we want it. Swamp. What plays Swamp? Jeez. Well, you've been more productive than me. Hopefully we change that now. Let's... What are we doing here? Am I holding up Essence Scatter, realistically? Alright, this could be like Rogues, I guess. The Hazard could be good. Hey, it's Harambe. Everyone get your dicks out. Good to see him. How are you doing? Alright, so opponent plays Swamp, Field of Ruins. This could be like mono-black control. I feel like our hand isn't super well equipped to deal with that. But they're unlikely to have an answer for the Midnight Clock, so let's just get our ramp on. Midnight Clock's going to incentivize us to dump our hand as quickly as possible. Okay, so it's Dimir, so I'm really glad we got the Midnight Clock down before they played their blue source. So the Midnight Clock can play again means we want to make our trades. 1 for 1. And now we can play this and have Dispute back up. which I think I'm interested in doing. Alright. So, it's not really clear what the opponent's playing yet. It could be, like, non-Lurrus Rogues, in which case Cinderplasm might be a playable card, but I think I just want the Disruption in hand, because it's more likely a control deck, and they're probably going to have big spells that they want to cast. We might be able to Force Spike them. So we'll take the Disruption, we'll put back the Cinderplasm, and we'll exile the Mountain. And we'll say go. You're in DC for business. That sounds very important. Is it business that you can tell me about, or would you have to kill me? So they're gonna kill our manland. It's kind of nice to see, honestly. Means they're scared of it. So... I think I want to get the blue source down. We have 4 mana available. Do we want to cycle the shark now, or do we want to hold up the Force Spike? We'll hold up the counterspell. Pom-pom. Wow, everyone's here. Good turnout today. I'm not Force Spiking Knuckling to dust. How are you doing, Pom-pom? Maze Mind, Tome. That's an annoying one. Again, as I said, we are incentivized to make these trades. I just think it's so likely they have a counterspell backup based on how they played the game. But otherwise, what are we doing? We're making a 1/1 shark. Let's cast the Dispute. Nice, okay. Yeah, I don't think this is Rogues. I think this is just like straight Dimir Control. Which I feel like is probably a bad matchup for us, at least in game 1. Like, a lot of our removal's just completely dead. So they didn't have a counter here. They might have a really hard time dealing with a Resolved Shark Typhoon. Like, the worst that's likely to happen is they can play, like, 5 mana Ashiok next turn, they bounce the Shark Typhoon to hand, and we, like, exile the Essence Scatter or something. Because they didn't have an answer when we cast our Mystical Dispute there. So I'm actually thinking I'm just going to slam the Shark Typhoon. Oh, you have something now. What could it be? Ah, Disdainful Stroke makes sense. Okay. Alright, this kind of sucks. Like, our hand is just mostly dead. So I think the play here is to Field of Ruin the Crawling Barrens and pump the clock. Because we really do want to wheel our hand pretty badly. Yeah, let's do that. So what are we scared of from our opponent here? Uh-huh. Well, that's not great. I did not expect Lockmere Serpent. I didn't think it was a bad idea to take down the Essence Scatter Shields, but now we know. The Shadow Skull Smashing is not good enough. We have 4, 5, 6, 7. Does 5, we need 7. Jeez. Okay. I think we're probably gonna lose this one. What answers do we have to Lockmere Serpent? A resolved Lockmere Serpent? Like, nothing. Like, Kiora Best of Sea God is the only answer, and it's probably never going to resolve. This sucks. Okay. Maybe there's a way to make a really big shark. Kiora Best of Sea God is also a possible answer. No divide? I don't think there's a divide by 0 in this deck. This is a best of 3 list, and the learn cards aren't really played in best of 3 very much. Because the sideboard slots are just more valuable. So what can we do here? We can try to slam the Kiora Best of Sea God. Opponent has showed us that they're a Disdainful Stroke player. We can't make a big enough shark yet to stand up to the Serpent. So that's probably next turn's play. We're kind of just dying here. The other possibility, like, Hall of Storm Giants also does block the Serpent, but they can make it unblockable. So here, in that way, Kiora's Best of Sea God isn't even really a good answer. I think we're dead to this. Like, we're super soft to Lochmere Serpent if it resolves. Okay. Guess we'll try. Uh-huh. I think we're just dead. Okay. Next game we won't make this mistake, though. By the way, let me know how the audio quality for the stream is. I enabled a new noise filter on it because there are children outside, and they're loud. And I don't want you guys to hear them, but I also don't want to boil and have my PC overheat like it did last time. Seems good? Okay. There is no next game. That's incredibly pessimistic for game 1. Do we have untapped land? We don't. Alright. Can we cycle into anything relevant? No, we can't. There is no next game, just win now. Okay, Yoda. So, Dimir Control. Burning Hands is no good. Creation Law. Good to see you on the stream. I think this is the first time I've seen you here. Thank you for the Prime sub. How are you doing today? You can't hear the kids? Okay, that's good. My god, they're obnoxious. Alright, so Cinderplasm, no good. Fire Prophecy, no good. Bonecrusher Giant's just a good card. Shark Typhoons are great. Slot Coming is great. Test of Talents is medium, but playable. Definitely want the other tome. And I guess a Phoenix is probably the best out of these crappy options. You better get some good emotes. You do get 3 good emotes. Everyone in chat, show Creation what your 3 emotes are, if you have them. And if you don't, then sub, I guess. I think this is probably okay. I also don't like these Essence Scatters, because they, like, only hit the Lochmere Serpent. And we have a ton of counter magic otherwise, and every other counterspell in the deck is really good against Lochmere Serpent. I think I actually like cutting these. But I'm not sure what to bring in instead. There you go. That's your wonderful selection of emotes. Just trying to buy my love. Okay. You've earned it. Jeff Bezos has earned you my love. Uh-huh. I guess Essence Scatter is, like, marginally better than Phoenix of Ash. I'm gonna take the Phoenixes. Like, they're not great, but they're a recursive threat that they might have a hard time answering. They probably board out their creature removal, although they did show us Cling to Dust. I think it's still better than Essence Scatter. Let's give this a try. I think everyone in the chat right now is sub. That's pretty cool. Alright, so Disdainful Stroke and 2 Bonecrusher Giants is not a great hand. But I'm not a huge fan of mulling this on the play. They might have taken out, like, their creature removal. And maybe we can just start beating them to death with Bonecrusher Giant. Let's give this a try. Not a big fan of them moving the Jumpstart event at the end of August. Yeah, that was weird. Like, on the one hand, if the problems with the release were bad enough that WotC actually delayed it... Okay, secret's out. That WotC actually delayed it, then you can be pretty damn sure that it was completely unplayable. Shuffler's fine. So they know the Bonecrusher Giant's coming. They won't play into it. I think we just don't want it countered. Let's just stomp their face. But, like, on the other hand, like, it's really frustrating that WotC announces the event, gets everyone all excited for it. People plan around it, you know, they make their deck dumps for the first day, and then, you know, then they just move it. Jerking everyone around. So, we don't have anything, but they don't necessarily know that. We also have a Field of Ruin we can use to kill the Hall of Storm Giants. That's not a huge deal yet. Let's see, do they have anything? They do. So, what could they have? What could they have that they want to play? Omen of the Sea? Possibly, but they're not playing Yorion. I'm just gonna play it for 4-3. Let's see if they kept in, like, their Heartless Acts and stuff. Okay, they did. Probably expecting us to have, like, Shark Typhoons and stuff. Heartless Act, not great removal against the Phoenixes that we brought in. So, now what? We can try to resolve this expressive iteration. I think that's ambitious. I think we want to make them spend their mana on the turns when they have 4 free mana available. Like, spend their mana for counterspells when they have 4 free mana available, because that's when they want to be pumping, like, their Crawling Barons. Although they'll never do that with Field of Ruin in play. There's no way in hell that this resolves, and our hand is so bad without it. Let's just play around Force Spike. And slam the 4-3, I suppose. Okay. Also, every removal spell that they throw at the Bonecrusher Giant is one that they're not throwing at an eventual Giant Shark. That's a frustrating one to see. So, what are our options here? We can either Expressive Iteration, or we can try to cast Bonecrusher Giant. Unfortunately, we don't have enough red to do both. Field of Ruin against 2 Crawling Barons and a Hall of Storm Giants is pretty frustrating. There is some possibility that we exile a red land and be able to play both of these things if they don't counter it. And failing that, at least we get to crack one of these Fields of Ruin and kill one of their manlands. Okay. 3 free drafts is pretty, that's pretty tasty. Okay, so they let it resolve. So I think we take the Shark Typhoon to hand. And I think I'm going to put the Iteration back in the deck. And we'll exile the Mountain. And so now, it's unlikely they have, like, a sweeper, right? Like, any removal they kept in their deck is probably single target. They are winning the long game with this Maze Mind Tome. We just don't have a good answer for it. I'm just going to play the other 4-3 and try to kill them. They're still a couple turns off of their Lochmere Serpent. And maybe we can even get the Shark Typhoon in over the top for damage. Although the flash on the Lochmere Serpent will be annoying. Shit. We didn't play around that duress, but, like, that duress probably came off the top. It's unlikely that we could have played around it. Also, we do have a 2-turn clock with the Bonecrusher Giant. If we draw, like, our own Hall of the Storm Giants here, I think it's very unlikely they kept in a sweeper. This is in game 2. seeing what they saw. This is probably one of the worst draws in the deck. So luckily, like, if their plan is to block the Bone Crushers with Crawling Barons, then at least we have the Field of Ruin available to deal with that. They know we have the second Field of Ruin now because of that Duress, which sucks. Let's just see if we can scry into something good. Okay, that's like right on the line of what I would keep. If we scry that to the bottom, what are we looking for? Probably like a Phoenix of Ash. Phoenix of Ash, if they kill the Bone Crushers, wins the game on the spot. So what does it take here? Like, they have single target removal for the Bone Crusher Giants. That will ding them for 2. Like, they're gonna have a really hard time with this, right? And maybe we can just go face with the Bone Crusher Giant on their upkeep. I think we keep this on top. Although we might end up shuffling it away with our Field of Ruin, depending on what they do. Probably not, though. Upkeep stop. It's a good sign. Okay. So these Fields of Ruin are coming in huge here. Actually, we didn't need the second one. I think they can only practically animate one of them. Scry bottom. Tap land. Okay. What do you have? What combination of cards gets them out of it? Not that one. So the plan is... Oh, okay. See? Good thing we kept this Bone Crusher on top. I didn't think about Soul Shatter, but I did think that it was going to be really hard for them to deal with it without that Stomp being lethal off the top. Okay. So that went well. Our hand was terrible, but Bone Crusher Giant, you know, Eldraine's busted and we went the distance. Do we want to change anything on the draw versus being on the play? On the draw, Essence Scatter is probably a little better than Bone Crusher Giant. Or a little better than it was, and Bone Crusher Giant's probably a little worse than it was, is what I mean. I don't know relatively which card is better than the other. I still think it's Bone Crusher Giant is better. I don't think we want to change anything. I remember during the Zendikar Championships, the Omnath Championships, there were like 31 copies of Bone Crusher Giant played out of a possible 32 in the top 8. So, you know, fair and balanced card. Alright. Yeah, this hand is significantly better than the one we had last game. Okay. So, like, if they don't take Expressive Iteration, then we're fine with them using cards like Duress. They have a tough decision to make. Like, unless they have, like, a counterspells or multiple Duresses. Because both Iteration and Midnight Clock are kind of a problem for them. Phoenix of Ash is not the best draw, frankly. I guess we want to... Let's just get this into play tapped. One is probably better than the other. What do you mean? At the Omnath Championships. You know, back when Ura was the problem that they had to solve. Of course, opponent has Maze Mind Tome on 2 again. This matchup feels kind of bad. Oh, it misses their land drop. They didn't scry on upkeep and miss their land drop? No, they're testing us for priority. Okay. Not sure what we're playing next turn, but I'm sure we're not cycling the Shark now. So we can either play the Midnight Clock, or we can play the Phoenix of Ash. If they have a counter spell, they showed us that they kept in Cling to Dust last game, so I'm not really a fan of exposing the Phoenix of Ash to Heartless Act plus Cling immediately. But I'm also just so sure they have a Mystical Dispute. Or some sort of counterspell. If they do have a Mystical Dispute, at least they're not drawing off the tome. Alright, let's slam the clock. Okay. This is good for us. They probably don't have an answer to the Midnight Clock. It is a little awkward with the Phoenix of Ash. Okay, they missed their land drop for real this time. So what does that mean about their hand? It probably means they have, like, one or two counterspells. Maybe, like, an Ashiok. They got pasted by Bone Crusher Giants last game. They probably have one or two removal spells. It seems likely that if we play the Phoenix of Ash, it's just going to die. So let's just hold up Shark Typhoon here. Cycle at end of their turn. Not play into their counter magic. It does suck that they're going to get to draw off the Mazemind Tome. Maybe it is supposed to be Phoenix of Ash there, because once they get later in the game and have their 6 mana for their Lochmere Serpent, we're going to want to be holding up the mana. But we can't realistically play around that, right? Because it has Flash. I mean, you've come to the wrong channel if you don't want to see people play Dimir Control. Like, usually I'm on the other side of this. So they showed us Soul Shatter, which is a decent answer to the Hall of Storm Giants. It gets around the Ward 3 pretty effectively. Now, do you Heartless Act me? Force Spike's good. So we learned our lesson slamming the Shark Typhoon in game 1, right? Probably not the thing to do here. Are we playing the Phoenix of Ash pre-combat? If we play the Phoenix of Ash pre-combat, we can attack and hold up Force Spike. What happens if we play the Midnight Clock and the Phoenix? We don't get to hold up the Force Spike. We get to bluff Mystical Dispute. I think I want to have them tap out and then kill them with Phoenix of Ash later. So let's just hold up another Shark Typhoon. And I guess we'll play this on red. Because we want to have the ability to pump the Phoenix of Ash some point later in the game. They have their own baby shark. Okay. So that would have traded with the Phoenix if we had played it. Another Mazemind Tome, which resolves, unfortunately. And we make a 4/4. A 4/4. Alright. Now, luckily, once the clock goes off, these Typhoons are going to get reshuffled into the deck. So we could probably... They probably don't have a whole lot of removal left. We can probably exhaust it. What do we want to do here? We have 5, 6, 7 mana available if we want it. So we can power up the Hall of Storm Giants. They don't have Soul Shatter available. They block the Hall with their 2/2. They take 7 down to 14. That seems really aggressive. Let's start with Iteration here. That's not bad. Bone Crusher Giant could kill that baby shark. That's probably a better thing to do on their upkeep, or after they tap out for their Mazemind Tome. But we want to do it to get in the extra damage, right? And if they counter the Bone Crusher, they're not drawing with the Tome, and we still have the Force Spike. Okay. Let's put the Bone Crusher to hand, Temple to the deck, the Island to exile. Let's stomp the 2/2 pre-combat. Again, the Midnight Clock incentivizes us to just play out our hand. Now, we have the option here of playing out the Bone Crusher Giant. It takes down the Force Spike shields. Are we worried about anything really on their turn for 5 mana? I don't think so. I think, like, the worst thing that can happen to us next turn is, like, a couple removal spells or, like, Ashiok. I guess, like, Lolth is a concern if they're playing Lolth. Lolth would be a good target for the Force Spike. This is a 2-turn clock no matter what they do. I'm just gonna say go. They're constrained on mana. The Force Spike is actually super likely to be relevant here. I think this is fine. We have another 4 power body that we can play next turn. They don't have Lockmere Serpent mana, so I feel safe enough tapping out here. And I think I'm down to cast my pre-combat Phoenix of Ash here, am I? Power up the Hall, they can cast, like, Heartless Act and pay for Ward. And we're all tapped out. That seems pretty bad. We can Phoenix of Ash plus Bone Crusher Giant and still have Jewelry Disruption available. And next turn we'll be able to get the empty our hand with the other Midnight Clock, right before the Midnight Clock of the other Midnight Clock goes off. Okay, let's lead with Phoenix of Ash. I should have tapped the Midnight Clock, though, to cast it. Because if they have some interaction for the Midnight Clock, then they might be able to cheese something through our counter magic. But I'll do that when I cast the Bone Crusher Giant, unless something strange happens here. Neutralize. Okay. I attack. And tap for mana. Play a island, I suppose. Alright, what are you gonna do, opponent? You have to draw some cards, but there is some pressure coming. Lockmere Serpent is, like, almost certainly rotting in their hand, because they've missed a few land drops this game, and they just haven't been doing much. They also had this neutralize that they could have cycled while they were missing land drops and didn't, so this is like a recent draw. Their hand is probably pretty expensive. Field of Ruin is an excellent top deck. Ooh. Interesting. So I strongly suspect Lockmere Serpent here, but we have the answer. Yeah, so playing the second Midnight Clock is interesting. Phoenix of Ash coming out of the graveyard is not a lethal threat on its own, unless we pump it. Which we do have the mana to do, but I think it's just so unlikely that they don't have any interaction at all. Powering up the Hall seems insane. I just want to dump my clock, dump my hand, and use this midnight clock. Yeah. And how do you deal? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. How do you deal with a hexproof 8/8 that has 0 CMC? So they're at virtual 8. They can gain 4 life at any time. I think we lose the long game, though, is the problem. Like, we have all this pressure on the board. They almost certainly don't have a sweeper. If they do have a sweeper, it's probably Extinction Event, which we play around here pretty effectively, too. If they tap out, and if they don't have the Field of Rune mana available, they can't kill our Hall, which is almost a lethal threat on its own next turn. Yeah, like, even Shadow's Verdict. Yeah. It's, like, there are, like, combinations of cards that beat us there, but not many. Alright, 2-0. Verdict and Soul Shatter would do it. Verdict, they were at 8, so Extinction Event leaving the 4/4 and the Field of Rune to kill the Hall also kept them alive. Like they weren't 0% to have a hand that beat us there, but I mean, I don't know, maybe 10%. Like the Field of Rune is uncounterable, and we were tapped out. So if they had their sweeper and the Field of Rune available, then that might have kept them alive for another turn. But the Hexproof 8/8 is a serious problem because it also dodges Soul Shatter. So like they needed a sweeper. If I was playing against me, I would have boarded out all the sweepers. There are certain decks that this hand is very good against. Like if I knew we were up against Winota here, I would probably keep this hand, even though it doesn't have the blue. Because Cinderclasm and Fire Prophecy are just so good, and Expressive Iteration, we will eventually cast it. But in the dark, I don't think we can keep this hand. Because if we're up against, like, that Dimir Control deck again, we just lose on the spot. There's no way we beat that. No Companion? Well, Winota doesn't really run Companion, right? So that's actually probably a reason to keep the hand. But I'll mull it. This hand is significantly better. We definitely keep this. I want my Maze Mind Tome. That's how we'll get out of this mulligan. I feel like Disdainful Stroke isn't great, but we do have 4 lands in hand. I'm gonna put back the Field of Rune. It's just, like, so marginal, and we can probably deal with their manlands in other ways if they even have them. I have seen non-Lurrus Rogues floating around. It is Winota. So, that sucks. It's gonna be too slow. Like, if we had kept that hand, like, if this was, like, the SCG Tour, and I knew that I was up against Winota, then I 100% would have kept that hand. Like, think of how good Cinderclasm would be in this spot. And now, like, being on the draw here means that even Bonecrusher Giant on the Selfless Savior, they can sack it in response, and we lose the 4/3 body. Like, Winota could just come down next turn. Like, this is kind of their nut draw, and it's the reason Winota's so good. We can hold up Disdainful Stroke. Like, their most likely play next turn is probably either Chariot or Winota. It's possible that they just add more creatures to the board and we're sad. But even in that case, end of turn, we can stomp, like, the Savior. I mean, like, there's a reason that Winota is probably the best deck in the format here. Like, we're running a deck that's tech to beat Winota here. And even still. Okay, so... It's not Winota, probably. Lotus Cobra. Okay. So, this is an interesting choice, right? Because, like, usually you want to Bone Crush the Selfless Savior to force them to sacrifice it so that your other sweeper effects are good. However, if we stomp the Lotus Cobra, they probably sacrifice the Savior to save it. And we still get to keep the 4-3. Problem is, like, against a good opponent, they will only sacrifice the Savior in that case if it's actively good for them. So, like, we're giving them the choice of whether to sacrifice it or not. Ugh. There's no line where we just untap here. I think we just have to stomp the Savior and hope to draw a Cinderplasm or something. Opponent did miss their land drop, which is nice to see. So, if they draw land... They miss their land drop. What does that tell us? They're gonna get 4 mana next turn. Their best play last turn was Lotus Cobra. They really, really wanted to get their 4th mana. That means they probably have Winota, which means we can't safely tap out here. Alright. It really sucks, because if the opponent is any good, then they'll know we have the counter available, and we have no recourse here. We should set some stops to bluff that we actually have something, but... if they don't play into the counter, there's very little we can do. Yeah, so, like, Disdainful Stroke is... Yeah. So Cinderplasm off the top does deal with this fairly nicely, but then they have, like, Winota in hand. Jeez. I mean, we have to stroke this, but it feels terrible. Next turn, at least we can clock plus have Disruption available. No, we can't, because we don't have the blue to do that. Oh yeah, clock makes blue. Oh, that's not bad. That's not bad. So, we can either play the clock, or we can play the tome here. I think those are the only 2 realistic options. In order to win this game... Like, the clock going off is a pipe dream, right? I think we need the tome down. If they play Winota next turn... If they don't have a land and they play Winota, then we kind of blow them out. And they've shown that they're struggling to find their land. If they do have land, then Jwari doesn't do anything. Ugh. Not sure what to do. Alright. I hate this. I think this is playing to lose. I think that's wrong. Like, it means we're unlikely to get absolutely dunked on this turn. Okay, so they had the land. But I think probably one of the only ways we were going to win this game, given that I think they have Winota. I guess they don't. Okay, maybe we're okay here. They decide not to power up the Lair of the Hydra. What do you have? Blade Historian is a card that makes sense. Yeah, we can't draw right now, which is why I didn't want to tap out for the Spike Field Hazard, but this seems to have gone about as well as you could hope. They can cast Blade Historian if they're willing to give up the treasure. I mean... It clears their board. I think we want this, honestly. So we play this and hold up Spike Field Hazard. There's no reason to cast it on our turn. We can hold up Tuari Disruption for God knows what. Okay. Clear board on their end step. I think it's very unlikely that we go another turn and this is the only thing on the board. If they don't play Winota, I'm just going to take the 1 and try to draw the card with the Dome. Play around the Tuari Disruption very well. Okay. At least it's a human. But, like, this is a 5 toughness card. Like, we don't have many good answers for this. This is a big weakness of the deck. What are we looking for? Like, Shark Typhoon wouldn't be terrible. Yeah, Stroke isn't great after it's resolved, though. Ugh. Alright, I'd rather have the card. Actually, maybe I should have disrupted it to force them to sacrifice the treasure, so that they couldn't haste it. That might be the best value we're going to get out of the Drawer Disruption at this point in the game. Yeah, okay. I think that was a small mistake. Yep. If we draw, is there anything we can cast for 4 mana that's any good? Not really. I guess we're just dead to them powering up the lair, right? And they can trample it through, so even if we somehow find... Like, if we draw into a Shark Typhoon and cycle it for 1... That's not ideal. Actually, this is terrible. I should have let the Spellbinder come into play, because now it comes into play and they can just haste it. Okay. I guess that works too. Okay. I mean, we're super dead. But we were able to sneak out another turn. You shut up. Oh, alright. I guess. Okay. So there's not actually a whole lot of boarding I think we need to do. We definitely want to take out the disputes. Essence Scatter seems pretty good. Storm's Wrath seems good. Fire Prophecy seems good. Red Cap with melee is great. Centerplasm's awesome. Bone Crusher Giant's awesome. Like, almost every card in our deck is really good against them. We just had... Like, we just drew all of the anti-control elements. We even Disdainful Stroke the Chariot. Like, our draw was actually pretty bad. In retrospect. So maybe... What do we cut? I think 3 Kioras is too many. What would I rather? Would I rather have Shark Typhoons, or would I rather have Maze Mind Tomes? think I'd rather have the sharks. But not many. Like, the sharks are medium, I just think the Maze Mine Tomes are a little worse. This seems okay. Maybe 3 strokes is too many. But I think this is fine. I think I want to try this. Just thinking about what could have been with that mulligan decision we had. Red Cap Melee is a great card to have, although it is kind of elite Spellbinder food. Shadow Spell Smashing is actually low-key really good. But I think we're short enough on land that I play it tapped on turn 1 anyway. Yeah, I mean, this deck just has so many ways to get Winota down on 3. So, no reason to Burning Hands right now. We can do it in response to whatever they play. Interesting. Let's see if they attack with it. They do. Okay. If they play, like, Selfless Savior here, sure, they snuck through a point of damage. I think we have to kill the Selfless Savior anyway, though. Because I think it's more important that we kill whatever the Savior is going to protect in the following turns than it is that we kill the Sentinel now. Especially because they showed us they didn't have a use for the mana. Bone Crusher Giant is not bad. Let's just do that. Same deal with last turn. We can Bone Crush the Sentinel in response to whatever they play. And still have Red Cap Melee available, too. This time if they attack with the Sentinel, do we kill it before it hits us? I don't think so. This deck I don't think is going to kill us by, like, chip damage. Like, they'll either completely overwhelm the board or we'll be okay. Yeah. Okay. So they can take Red Cap Melee, but it'll still be a 3-mana kill Winota. Do we kill the Spellbinder or do we kill the Sentinel? Spellbinder's a human. It's 1 toughness. We have ways to kill 1 toughness things. It's not that fast a clock. Is there a reason to do it now? What could they could cast another 1-drop if we let this get into play. We have the answer to their Winota, but it's about to cost much more. Let's just kill the Sentinel now. I wonder what they take, though. They'll probably either take Red Cap Melee or Iteration, and I'm interested to see which... They take Midnight Clock. Okay. Take Midnight Clock. What does that mean? Well, I'm gonna cast Iteration. Yeah. Okay. Let's, I guess, put the Temple to hand. No, we'll take the untapped land to hand. Yeah, we'll take the Mountain to hand, put the Temple back in the deck, and play the Pathway on blue. Bluffs the most things. Like, it represents Disdainful Stroke. And we can Fire Prophecy a good number of things here, too. and put one of these lands back in the deck. We'll take the 3, though. Lotus Cobra, huh? Yeah. That's a better one to kill than the Spellbinder. That's really frustrating. I mean, are we supposed to kill the Selfless Savior, actually? I think we probably are. It does turn off our ability to loot with the Fire Prophecy, but if the Selfless Savior being in play means that our Cinderplasm draw, if we draw it off the top, is pretty bad. So I think this touches the board and we kill the Selfless Savior. Because if their next turn is like Winota, then, which seems reasonably likely, then we can Red Cap melee it. Okay. Have another Sentinel or something? No. So they should sacrifice this to keep us from looting away the land, but no, they don't. What do we need more of? Probably need more red than blue. Also, they know about this island. That's not the worst. Okay. I think we probably only need one of these things available next turn. They know about the Red Cap melee, so unlikely they play Winota. They could have, like, Asika's Chariot. If they have Winota next turn and they play it, but we've killed the Cobra anyway, then Winota isn't actually all that good. I think I'm going to... The thing about Fire Prophecy on this, though, is that we don't really have anything we want to loot away. Nah, okay. Burning Hands will keep in case they have a Chariot. Yeah, we'll just decline. I like my hand too much. What do you got for me, opponent? Cracking the Passage is interesting. Fetching red is interesting, too. Blade Historian. That's frightening. So Red Cap melee kills the Blade Historian, Burning Hands kills the Spellbinder. Actually, Shark Typhoon plus Red Cap melee kills both. And we get a card deeper in the deck. We can Red Cap melee the Blade Historian during combat, and then the Shark Typhoon for 1 will kill the Spellbinder. Folds to Winota. Like, sending away Red Cap melee, which is our only answer to Winota, is painful, but they do only have humans on the board. Attacking with the Bone Crusher Giant tells them something's up for sure. Alright, I think we just say go. They also have the Slayer of the Hydra, so Burning Hands probably needs to be our answer to that, so the Shark Typhoon needs to be an answer to the Spellbinder, I think. If they pump it, it's for 4, so it actually does run into the Bone Crusher Giant, so yeah, this could be really good. Let's let them attack. Nice. Okay. So let's cycle first. Go to blocks. And Red Cap melee with Blade Historian. That's an excellent draw. We like that. she is. We can kill her if we're willing to give up our entire hand to do it. I think I am. So let's start with Burning Hands. We'll put away this land, and at minimum we can play the Midnight Clock next turn. And Disdainful Stroke is pretty good, actually. Midnight Clock, we can play it and keep up Stroke. I think we might have turned the corner on this one. We are soft to another layer of the Hydra if they draw it. That's not so bad. That's pretty good. Uh-huh. Well, I'm gonna put the Essence Scatter in my hand. We'll send the Chwari back to the deck. We'll exile the Spikefield Hazard. Okay, that's on. See ya. Let's kill the Savior. No need to do it now. Yeah, no need to do it now. Just say go. Oh, there wasn't need to do it now. I exiled out the stupid... Ah. Okay, fine. We lose because of that, it's my fault. It's a pretty good draw. It's also a good draw. We are on an 8-turn clock. Do we want to pump this? Probably, right? It's just a draw 7. Seems way too good. Giving away the Essence Scatter is a little frightening. Okay. Let's play both sides of Bone Crusher then. We have to hold up the Essence Scatter here. Get a body in play. They have 2 cards in hand. Whatever they drew, they didn't play it last turn. Probably a land. Is it 2 lands? Maybe? Okay. I think we pump this now. Now we tap the clock for mana. This resolves. There we go. Oh, sorry. I thought that was the one that you foretell. Never mind. Yeah, this is fine. I attack. And good luck. Like... I think everything dies from this point onward. I stomp your face. Alright. What are these cards? Crush the Weak is what I was thinking of, yeah. Do we have 10 mana? No reason to go for it this turn, right? It's lethal if we do it next turn anyway. Let's get the other Bone Crusher in play. Don't know what they could possibly have to stay alive here. Yeah. Cool. So does our strategy change on the draw? I think on the draw, I'm much less interested in Shark Typhoon and more interested in this Burning Hands. What do I feel about Saw It Coming? Saw It Coming might just be too expensive. Question is, what do we bring in for it if we're taking it out? So, like, think about what we're getting for our 3 mana here. Like, Saw It Coming is nice enough on the play when we're reasonably sure that we're going to get to counter like a decent play and put them back on tempo. But on the draw, I think it's slow. Shark Typhoon draws a card and makes a blocker. Saw It Coming exchanges with, like, a 1 or a 2 drop anyway. I think I like the Shark more than I like the Saw It Coming. And we'll just lean on our 2 mana counter spells to deal with everything else. I don't know how much I love Midnight Clock either. But I think this is okay. I mean, yeah. I think that's pretty good. Now, do we play the Dwari Disruption on turn 1? Alright, so Selfless Savior needs to be eliminated with extreme prejudice. Are we ever casting this Dwari Disruption? I don't think so. Now that, especially now that we've drawn the Disdainful Stroke, let's just get the tap land out of the way. It also enables us to play this pathway on red, which we'll need to cast the eventual Storm's Wrath. Crusher's not bad either. But it didn't do anything on turn 2. What do you think that tells us about their hand? They don't have green, but they chose to play this on white. That's fine. So they probably play the Bone Crusher Giant here, I would think. How do they ever? They take 3 for the privilege. Yeah, okay, so we'll stomp their Selfless Savior in response, while we can be guaranteed that we'll get our own Bone Crusher Giants in play. I think we're trying to play around Winota here. So let's say we play a tap land, they attack us. Like, they don't play Winota, they attack us for 4. We Fire Prophecy on their end step. If they play a bunch of creatures, then we just untap and Storm's Wrath the board. Okay. I think we're taking a bop here. I mean, they saw that we didn't play the Bone Crusher Giant. They know something's up. There's a green. No pre-combat Winota, which makes me suspect Chariot. Which is a pretty good way to play around the Storm's Wrath, because if they have Chariot plus Winota in hand, then Storm's Wrath clearing the board of the 2/2s is not great. So does that mean we're supposed to Fire Prophecy this? Now? No, I don't think so. We're supposed to take this. I think they're going to play Chariot here. Oh, Innkeeper's fine. And if they play, like, another Selfless Savior, we have the efficient answer for it in Spikefield Hazard as well. Yeah, so are we wrathing the board next turn? Winota's not really great if we do. But I think what I like more here is Fire Prophecy plus Spikefield Hazard. Because that enables us next turn to hold up Cinderplasm plus Disdainful Stroke, if that's what we decide we want to do. Because I really don't want to tap out for Wrath next turn and then have them slam Chariot. I think that's a disaster for us if it happens. So what do we do first? think we lead with the Fire Prophecy on the Bone Crusher Giant. And I put back... What do I put back, honestly? Putting back the Field of Ruin is really dangerous. It means we don't get to cast the Storm's Wrath. Cinderclasm does deal with most of their stuff. This is a tough call. I'm going to put back the Storm's Wrath, I think, actually, because I want to be able to hold up both of these things next turn. Maybe the right play there was to pitch the Field of Ruin, because we're most likely to draw another land, but that's really risky. And we drew 2 lands, even. Okay. Let's get the Field of Ruin in play in case they play, like, Lair of the Hydra and nothing else. Yeah, see, this is what I wanted to beat. Do we crack the Field of Ruin? No. Okay. So they probably do have Winota, I'm guessing? Alright. So I think this is... Play Bone Crusher Giant, hold up Cinderclasm. And this way, if they have Winota, at least we can kill their triggers. Clothis. That's a scary one. Okay, that's kind of an emergency, actually. Does that mean we just need to start killing them? I think it does, actually. Like, we're super low. Oh, we can't kick this. Okay. I doubt they block. I doubt they block. Let's attack. I would rather hold the Cinderclasm for their turn in case they play something else that has 2 toughness, so we get a twofer. They're attacking. Wow. Okay. That's probably game. Probably. So we're taking 2 off the cloth this next turn. So we're down to 5. Kenrith can give himself trample. He can trample through the Bone Crusher Giant for 2. This only attacks for 7. That's the ball game. I think Kenrith is just a little too good. Like, we have to attack. If we don't, then Clothis just sort of kills us. And we don't have a good answer to Clothis in the deck, I don't think. Yeah. I think this is, like, the only play. Like, they can put 1 counter on Kenrith, he'll trample through for 3, we take 2 off Clothis, we'll take 5 total this turn. Obviously, if they have, like, a creature and they haste it, then we're probably dead, but I don't think there was another way out. They do have to be a little careful. Like, if we... No, I don't think there's any outs. I was thinking if we drew, like, Phoenix of Ash, maybe that would be good enough to get us over the line. But our Bone Crusher Giant is dead here no matter what. We're forced to block. Yeah. I think that's it. Yeah. Definitely. That sucks. Like, this is the matchup that we're trying to get. And I think if we keep that hand in game 1, I think we actually probably win this match. So that kind of blows. But 2-1 is not that bad. Let's go to the next deck.